one of my friends keeps saying that Arteta is using Declan Rice like Iniesta, like because he's playing him in the as a less central midfielder. I just want to say that reverse pass today, Iniesta would be very very proud of it. For the record, Caicedo couldn't ever try that because he'd probably break his hip in half, the little fucker.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Shirtless Plantain Show, the Arsenal edition. This is your host, Dean, and I can't say per usual because our lineups have been real shaky lately. It's like we got like a lot of injuries in the SPS squad or something. But
Yeah.
I must say I am here with Coach, freshly back from Madrid, and also back from Madrid, not just black from Madrid. I'm acting like I haven't done this in a while, but how you doing, Coach?
Um, Wonderfully fantastic, much better than Leaf Davis for sure. Much better than him.
Yeah, it's leaving Leaf Davis aside temporarily. It's been a wonderful I want to say week, two
Yeah,
weeks to be an Arsenal fan,
yeah.
and that trend continued today with a 4-0 victory away to Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town are officially not relegated, but we've essentially decided
They
that
are.
they will be relegated. They've been relegated in our minds for at least 3 months, I want to say,
Yeah.
maybe 4 months. Basically, when they came to the Emirates, that's when I relegated them, just based on their performance that day. But in any event, let's get right to it. We'll start with the lineup because I suppose that's where we always start. It was David Raya, Benjamin White for his first start in a minute, I feel like. William Saliba, Jakub Kivior, Alexander Zinchenko at left back. Very rare. Mikel Merino, Rice, and Odegaard. We'll definitely be talking about that. Bukayo Saka on the right, Trossard through the middle, and Gabby Martinelli, one of our Bernabeu heroes, on the left. I expect to see some rotation. I just didn't expect to see certain people show up, but it actually makes sense. What did you make of it? I almost certainly wasn't expecting to see Zinchenko start. I figured that Five would play since he's going to be missing a very important game in the next week or two, the first leg against PSG, but he didn't even get off the bench today. So what did you make of the way Mikel decided to shuffle with the pack?
I suppose I'll start from where you just left off. So with Five, I suspect that he's 100% start and play the full 90 on Wednesday. Um, is it this Wednesday? It is this Wednesday, isn't it? Or was it the following Wednesday? No, it's next. It's this Wednesday coming. My bad. Um, yeah, so I suspect he'll start, no problem. Um, and that probably just led into more about the rest of the midfield. I think that midfield was experimental for PSG. Um, and also, to be honest, the first thing I thought of when I saw that lineup was, damn, no Sterling again. Like, it's just, I know we should be used to it by now, but I just think, wow, man, like we're trying to really save our best for the Champions League. And I know the sports science now is, yeah, the more you play, the more like your muscles are like trained to kind of just be in these sorts of moments, stuff like that. The less you are at risk of injury and shit. But also, body no be firewood as well, man. Let's not kid ourselves, man. Like, so that's why I was like, raw, not even a Trossard Sterling like start together. No, like Trossard can do all the donkey work. Sterling can, try and finish. I suppose nothing like that. No.
Nah, man, not for me. He never. To be honest with you, Coach, he never even crossed my mind. Like I think,
Well,
he showed us. He showed us what he's gonna show us this season. There might be a moment or two in the next couple weeks, or before May 25th or whenever the season's over. But ultimately, I'm not relying on Raheem Sterling to do anything. Not even to take minutes off people's legs at this point, because Mikel clearly doesn't feel that way, and that's just what it is. I've made my peace with it. But that said, let's dive in a little bit deeper onto this Rice Marino Odegaard midfield. I think we've seen it once or twice before this
yeah.
season, not as often as we expected to, especially when Marino started the season by getting crunched by Big Gabby. Yeah, so he missed the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season. Declan Rice was coming off the Euros, not particularly at his fittest, broke a toe at some point. And, Martin Odegaard had the bad ankle injury that has probably been the source of his shitty form for most of this season. But essentially what a lot of us thought would be the main midfield for Arsenal this season, we haven't seen. And now we're going to need to see it against PSG. What did you make of this run out for them against Ipswich, a team that clearly was not, and will never be on the level?
I hate to disrespect PSG, but I'm sorry, Ipswich, but I just kept on thinking about PSG and thinking how this midfield would stack up against theirs. First of all, we'd have the athleticism over them 100%. Like, so in the Premier League, it's probably good to gauge how athletic you are against the teams in the lower half, because those teams probably stock up on those sorts of players just to kind of bridge some sort of gap, because the quality gap is just way too high. But we were just, I want to say, 50 levels above them physically. Like Odegaard, I've never seen him today, just him alone, shift away from so many players consistently, no problem, shrug them off, get have a that that first like half yard burst over them, like he did it so easily. You compare it to what it was in midweek, especially in the first half where it was a bit more difficult for him. You know what I mean? Like, but today it was very very easy for him to impose himself physically, which is not something I often say about Odegaard. Um, but everyone else, Declan Rice playing deeper. He's so intelligent. Like you have to like remember in the last, like, let's say in the last 3 weeks as a sample size, he's played every single position in our midfield, in a midfield, if you like.
Right.
Like he is, and today he was just at six, just playing at 70%, just strolling around in his bathrobe. It was, what I mean. And Marino, I think goals and assists can just do wonders for your overall sort of form and ability. And he just looked fierce today. Winning tackles high up, looking for those dangerous passes, receiving the ball in dangerous positions as well. I think the midfield worked today. It worked well for me. So it's positive for me for the future. I think we can be able to cope with them athletically and tactically. PSG 100% we can cope with them, no problem there. The technical side, we have to wait and see. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not particularly worried about the technical side either. I think technical prowess is it's one of the bare minimums for Arteta when he's recruiting players. And while I think generally players that are smaller that have good technique tend to get more credit for having that technique than players that are bigger that have the same thing, because you just assume that whatever gap there is in the technique is being bridged by the physicality. When in some cases, the bigger guy just has as much technique as the little guys. I feel like that's the case with a player like, to go back a little bit, someone like Paul Pogba or someone like Yaya Toure. Like, as much as people talked about their pace and power, the technique was there as well. It's just a matter of what weapon they choose to use in what moment. But real quick on Odegaard before we move on from the trio we'll be seeing against PSG. I actually thought he had a few moments where he turned away from what would be premier midfielders in the form of people like Valverde and Bellingham, even though it didn't happen as often as it did in this game. This game for me was maybe Odegaard's best performance in like overall performance in quite a while, because usually in recent weeks, as he's slowly gotten better, it's like, oh, he was kind of shitty in the first half, but he got better in the second half. Today, he was on it from jump. And I think he set that example for the entire team, because for me, this was arguably the best start we've had to a game this season. Like from the minute go, I felt like Ipswich were not in this game. I remember us talking in the chat. I was mentioning how games like this are where you can really see the difference in quality between players that just came up from the championship and elite level players. It wasn't even close, coach, or am I being a little overreactive here?
No, I think if I'm gonna compare it to a start, I think probably Man City home was probably the other one,
Yeah,
where we were just, yeah. Maybe Ipswich might have put up a better fight, I think, than Man City did in those
that's fair.
first
That's
in
fair.
those first 20 minutes, to be honest. But apart from that, yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Like, it was a great start. It wasn't even a contest. But on the quality thing, like I said, athletically, usually these teams will try to have the big guys, the physical guys, the strong guys, and even then, their guys couldn't even fuck with us. Like, it wasn't even close, man. But the real gap for me, and I know we're still talking about the midfield a bit, but the real gap for me, there was a switch of play to Saka, and his first touch, yeah, the defender was tight to him, but his first touch meant that he got tight to him, but it didn't matter. He still had, a yard or 2 yards on the defender to kind of decide if he wants to go inside or out. Like, it was, yeah, that level of quality is very subtle, but it's those sorts of things that make the difference, because when you're receiving the ball in those situations, your difference makers are able to make the difference in those spaces, one way or the other. And because we're able to do it, either side to him, because Martinelli as well, his first touch as of late has been fantastic as well. Yeah, it's so huge, and I understand the conversation around, people like worried about, the difference between promoted sides and regular Premier League sides widening. Like, I do understand those concerns, but these guys get a lot of help when they go down as well. So yeah.
So it goes, yeah. Again, fantastic start. Lots of fluid play through the lines. was very balanced on both sides of the attack. I felt like we're attacking through Martinelli, attacking through Saka. It wasn't just one side to make the big switch to the other side. It was no, we're building up all the way through this side. Okay, maybe that didn't work or we missed a chance. Let's try it through the other side. So it was a really enjoyable start to the game. And before the 15th minute, or to be more precise, on the 14th minute, Saka worked the ball into the box. Odegaard got a toe on the ball to steal that assist, and Trossard finished through the defender's legs. I mean, I really have no huge feedback on this. To my mind, we probably should have scored before the 15th minute, but I was glad to see the goal going because you don't want to see a team dominate that thoroughly and not get the result, because that's the kind of thing that makes Gabby pop up out of nowhere, even on Easter Sunday. And happy Easter to all of you who observe the holiday. But that's the thing that would make Gabby pop up and say, I knew that start was not good enough for us, or we were playing with our food, or whatever it is she'd be saying, But yeah, what'd you make of Trossard making himself useful again? Because ultimately, I feel like with him, his game is very simple. Sometimes he does good things off the ball and outside of the box. Most of the time, he doesn't. But what he does when he's at his best is finish chances in the box. As a matter of fact, he had a chance before that where he took a touch where he didn't really have the time to take a touch. But with this one, he just slipped it right through the defender's legs and into the net. What'd you make of Trossard? Do you think this is form we can maybe rely on going into the crunch time, into these semifinal that we'll be facing fairly shortly?
I spoke to a mutual friend actually about Trossard in this part of the season, and saying that basically him getting his reps in and getting a couple of goals today is so key. He's the type of guy I expected him. So for some reason, I expected him to get a goal against Real Madrid. I thought, because I feel like he's that type of player where the dependability of his finishing will really show in these sorts of games. Maybe I was a bit premature because I think it probably will happen against PSG at some point. But I think the value in Trossard is quite literally in his final action. That's what it is. He is so valuable to us in the way that we're currently set up, that when stuff falls to him in and around the box, I feel like more than anybody else, probably apart from Saka, and now Martinelli's, I suppose, is back now, but he's probably the one that has the most license to shoot and just kind of make that executive decision, because we know how reliable he is.
Not our Marino.
Well, obviously, you know what I mean, like, Marino's Marino, but you know what I mean, like, because we know there's plenty of evidence to suggest it, and just the way he plays as well, teams respect like Trossard one way or the other. They have to, because he's a reliable finisher, and I will never ever disrespect him in that regard. Like, I just think he fills me with confidence more often than not. And today's the type of game where he will punish rubbish teams. Like, they're nowhere near stopping him. But yeah, just on his overall game, I think there's probably a little bit of a misconception of just what he is. I mean, people keep putting lineups sometimes with him to play him in midfield, and there's just no, what world would you ever want to put Trossard in midfield with that level of decisiveness in the final third? Why would you want to move him further away from goal? It just doesn't make sense to me, man. Yeah.
I mean, like, shout out the decisiveness in front of goal, but what terrifies me about Trossard playing midfield has to do with his ball security. As good as he is on the ball in certain areas of the pitch, he's just so little. He's the kind of player that opponents want the ball with so they can crunch him and break on you. And generally he also dallies on the ball a bit. It's his nature to try to make something happen. When he gets the ball, he's an attacker, so he wants to make something happen no matter where he gets it on the field. Even if he gets it in our box, his instinct is to try to so he's going to hold the ball a little bit and expose himself to physical tackles and all the rest. But today was an excellent performance, inside the box, outside the box, him dropping into midfield, wherever he was on the pitch. But then again, it was Ipswich, so there's only so much credit you're going to get from a hater like me. Coach can show all the love he wants to show. Coach and Kale, shots fired at you, motherfucker. You and this Trossard obsession you have. Anywho, I want to talk a little bit about something. I'm not necessarily going to call it new because we've seen it before, but the frequency of it was quite large in this game. We got a lot of corners, Coach. And a lot of those corners, I want to say more than half of them, were short corners. We decided to play short corners and play combinations. Eventually led to a goal. We'll talk about that later. But what do you think was the logic behind that approach today?
I'd say probably just experimental stuff, varying stuff. We already know that, again, no disrespect to Ipswich, seriously, but we already know PSG are very weak from set pieces. right? We already know it. So it's more about just being able to, like, they're scouting us right now. Like, make no mistake about it. They've sent, with all the money in the world, they sent the best scouts to Portman Road. Apologies for that because Ipswich isn't fun. But but they sent all the scouts in the world, and they're looking at all our strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that. And now we just added another layer to our already great set piece weapon already now. So now they're thinking, well, if we send guys out to them on shorts now, we're leaving Big Saliba, Marino, Kiwi or free as well, kind of thing. So what do we do? So it's to me, it's all about prepping and make yourself as unpredictable and as uncomfortable for the opponent as possible. You know, Ipswich are the type of team that will allow for you to do that. You know, they'll allow for you to try shit, unfortunately. So I think there was a lot that was probably my main thinking. What their main thinking was behind it, but also as well maybe to get the players accustomed to not just swinging it in because we've got our best two corner takers back fit now. I mean, some of the deliveries from Saka today there was a chance from Marino, right? And I said to myself, I have missed those Saka bombs, so
Yeah.
like because that's what they are. They're bombs. He just throws them in there with so much with reckless abandonment, and it's just head it in. That's
Yeah.
what you got to do.
Yeah,
Like,
it was a shocker that Marino missed that. Like
yeah.
I don't I felt it almost felt like it was easier to score than miss in that situation.
Mm,
Like he just had to let it hit him, but he hit it, then it went over. So and if he had left it, I think Trossard probably gets it at the far post.
probably, yeah.
Because it was as you said, that bomb was that effective. Like it was right on point. Definitely missed those. But shortly after that, in the 29th minute, Martinelli scored yet another goal, and this time was again from a Saka cross. Marino backheels it. Martinelli, one of the easier finishes he will have in his career, just taps it in 2-0 to the Arsenal. At this point, the game is over, I'm assuming, Coach. That's what you're thinking too, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, it wasn't even. Do you know? Do you know? Just going back to the start, yeah. Sometimes you watch a football game. You're watching a football game at the same pace that the players are playing, where it's just like super duper relaxed. You know what I mean. If I do have a cigar, to be fair, but if let's say I just had another spare cigar, I'd light one up and just I'd be absolutely chilling. That's what it felt like, and I feel like the players after they got their second goal, it was just like, well, how many do we want, or how much of our legs do we want to preserve? And I think the player who exemplified that I've mentioned already was Declan Rice. Declan Rice was winning a lot of second balls and winning a lot of like transition. Like every time like Ipswich transition, he's just winning it back and just keeping it simple, just nothing too crazy, and it just filled me with calm. It just filled me with calm. It's like it is what it is. Game's done, but the move itself, okay, I might have mixed the two up now. Was it the one? Okay, so when Saka accelerated from his marker, was that the first or second goal? I think that was the first goal, wasn't it?
Honestly, I think that was both of them.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just say it was both of them.
Actually, and
But
there were other chances that didn't get scored
yeah,
where he accelerated away from Greaves or
yeah,
Leif Davis. So it
yes,
was just easy for him.
yes. I think I'm actually gonna I want to guess and say it was the first goal, but I think he recognized he took the ball and he slowed it down a bit, and then he recognized. Hold on a second. I know who you are, and you're rubbish. I'm not even gonna try a trick. I'm just gonna run away from you because you're rubbish and slow. Um, and I think that was the theme, for the first two goals. Saka just being a complete and utter mismatch for whoever the fuck they threw at him basically, and us just creating that way. But the actual flick for Marino was fantastic, and then the finish from Martinelli is just. Those are the goals. Again, that's where you get your extra 50-60K a week in your next pay rise kind of thing, because you've scored 7 or 8 of those in a season to add to the, I don't know, 10 or 11 where you've created for yourself or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, it was on the Marino back heel. Was that him going for goal, or was he actually aiming for running? It doesn't matter, obviously. But what do you think he was doing in the moment?
I am giving him the benefit of the doubt. My creative midfielder, striker, hybrid, plumber, electrician, man, whatever he is, right?
The
He
false
does he does whatever the hell he wants, right? And that was a pass.
the false six.
Exactly that,
Yeah,
yeah.
false six turned upside down into the greatest nine ever. All right. In the 32nd minute, 3 minutes after the second goal, Leif Davis decided to lose his damn mind. And weirdly enough, because coach, I did not expect an English ref to ever do something to protect the players out there. But Leif Davis raked his studs down Saka's Achilles, and he got a red. Naturally, because English people are stupid, Saka got booed for the rest of the game. So my first question is, do you think Ipswich fans can keep this beef against Saka going for as long as Stoke fans have been booing Aaron Ramsey? So that'd be 13 years. Can they boo him for 13 years? And secondly, I mean, the game was already over as a contest at 2-0, but just your thoughts on the professionalism of the sort of player that makes a tackle like that.
So, to answer your first question, no, because while those Ipswich fans on the day are absolute idiots, Stoke fans are dregs of society. They're the bottom of the bottom, lowest of the low. The type of people that would quite literally take a shit in the street, you know, just because, you know, that's what they assume is the normal thing for them to do. They have no sort of couth at all. They give very inbred vibes. Is what I'll say. Secondly, when players make tackles like that, it usually just tells me exactly who you are, and you're very, very fortunate to be a professional footballer. You know, acting like that. There's a level of care you should have for your own professional. Like you should just have it. I know we all make jokes about, oh, I'd love to chin him, I'd love to whatever, blah blah blah. But when it comes to stuff like that, you know, when you play football, you wanna leave one on someone kind of thing. You usually just run into them and like you try to bundle them over with your midriff or whatever. Sometimes you might use your hands, you might push them over and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But to actually use your studs to go down his ankle / Achilles like that, yeah, he's just come back from an injury as well. You know exactly what you're doing, and genuinely, I hope he never plays Premier League football again. Seriously, keep that shit away from the elite players, man. Seriously, keep those not that nastiness away. We don't want you around. We don't want your type around. You're disgusting, man.
Which is a shame because up until this point, I'm not gonna say I rated Leif Davis because the only player I rate on that Ipswich squad would be the Delap kid. But he definitely early on in the season before their spirits dropped a little bit because when you're fighting relegation, it's hard for you to show your best form. It's just what it is. But he was one of the ones that sort of stood out as a player that could maybe, I think, isn't he a Man United youth product, Leif Davis?
Potentially, I just know he's got a wand of a left foot, but who cares?
He really does, but that you should use your wand of a left foot for one type shit, not ogre type shit, and that was shameful. To his credit, small credit, before he left, you could tell that he was I don't know if he was apologetic because he knew he was screwing his team, but they were screwed anyway, or he was apologetic because he realized that I really fucked up in that moment and I should not have done that. So I'll give him small credit for that.
I'm not giving him any credit. He was apologetic to the fans because he knew that they were fucked. Like fuck the fans, bro.
They were fucked before kickoff,
Exactly.
So I don't know what that's about.
Fuck the fans. You don't do that to the best player in the country, man. Like that's just disgraceful, man. Seriously, man.
It's nasty behavior.
And I can't believe I'm doing this, but I just want to say that it's good that a referee that has fucked us this season already,
Chris Kavanagh
did his job. It's good to see. It's good to see that people do the job that they're paid to do. Basically, yeah. It's good to see your first job. Forget the rules, stuff like that. Protect the players.
Protect the players.
That's all you have to do. If you get a few decisions wrong here or there, people will usually tend to be like, do you know what? No one's perfect, kind of thing. But you're not protecting. If you're not protecting players, then you can quite literally go to hell, like kick rocks.
Yeah, that to me is that's the first part of a referee's job. Protect the players. Like the idea that you're. It's actually, let me ask you a different question, slightly related to refereeing. Like Steve, I want to say it was Steve Finnan, ex-Liverpool, was on commentary for us here in the States. And initially, he looks at the tackle and calls it what it is. Then the more they show replays, the more he starts going back on his justification and thinking to himself, it was a bad tackle. He went down on his Achilles and put the studs into his Achilles, which is where your thought process should end. And he starts rationalizing it. And eventually, by the time Leif Davis goes off the field, he's convinced himself that it was too harsh. Red card is too harsh. Like, that was an orange at worst. It's like, bro, one, there's no orange card, and two, what is wrong with English commentators, man? I've been watching this sport commentated by Englishmen for a long time. I've rarely heard one of them just straight up admit that a bad tackle was a bad tackle. What is the deal with that, coach?
Well, first of all, Steve Finnan was, I believe, Irish. Secondly, he was shit. And he played in a very shit Liverpool team as well. I think that's pretty much explains his entire rationale for what he said. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Bukayo Saka, who has given Liverpool many a bad day and will be winning lots of trophies at Liverpool's expense in the very, very, very imminent future, you know exactly what it is. You know exactly what it is, man. So that's all it is. You have to, like, every single ex-Liverpool player that's played for Liverpool in the last 20 to 30 years, that's on some sort of comms, they will always be unrationally biased one way or the other. Like, I'm not even going to try and make it a thing about them right now, but I just have to get off my chest. I think pound for pound, they're the worst sort of commentary group when it comes to ex-players. United are there because United.
It's United. It's
Let me
United.
be-
It's not even close, man. It's United, then Liverpool, which is natural because they're the two biggest teams in the country. But I think it's United easily. Like they had so much success in our childhoods that they still can't get over that shit. But it's Man United. They still, at least the Liverpool ones, as idiotic as they can be, I think they have some humility because they haven't won as much as United guys, like the Rio Ferdinand and Gary Neville and Paul Scholes. Like, those guys are, to me, utter fucking idiots, but.
So I was gonna say, I think at the extremities of it, United wiped them hands down. Paul Scholes is the single point of idiocy in human humanity. Yeah, in the human race. He is the single point of all idiocy.
It's him versus Michael Owen. I don't know who we are saying Michael Owen belongs to.
Yeah.
Nobody wants him.
By far. But if we're looking at like the spread of it, like Carragher's an idiot. Obviously now Steve Finnan is. Jason McAteer as well. Oh, Graham Souness. Don't get me fucking started on it.
Well, they got him off TV, thankfully.
Yeah. Thankfully. But I mean. But yeah, so when we see stuff like that, it's just, I mean, even just this week, and I don't listen to, that podcast with that they've unfortunately dragged Ian Wright along to, kind of thing. But I heard apparently Roy Keane was the only one on there that was giving Arsenal props for dismantling Real Madrid, and like Neville and Carragher were just they it even pained them to even have to talk about it, so.
Like, real quick before we move on punditry, Carragher, he's the most fascinating of the pundits, and by fascinating, that's a synonym for idiotic, in my opinion, because when he gets on CBS and he's sitting next to Thierry Henry, he never really has anything bad to say about Arsenal. Never. When he's doing his job anywhere else, it's just all sorts of disrespect and trolling. It's really strange because you can tell that the reason why he doesn't do that stuff when he's next to Henry is because he feels as if Thierry Henry is a better human being than him, basically. He just acknowledges that this is a man that used to shit on me twice a year for like 6 years, so I can't ever say anything that might piss him off a little bit. But once he's not around him, he just starts wilding out. It's crazy.
He's just a cuck. He's just cuckoldry. That's what it is.
It's weird. It's part of some people's culture. But let's move on before we get into a sociological experiment. I feel like Saka should have really. So we all know, based on the articles we've read, the interviews we've seen, that Saka has the ambition to want to be one of the very best in the game. And we're not just talking about best in his era type shit. Like, he's gunning for the alien type numbers someday. That's what he wants. Mikel said it. He said it. We believe it. We're rooting for him. He has the talent. I feel as if a game like today, after someone does that to you and you get up, you're still in one piece, then you punish them. And he had 3 separate opportunities to basically score what was probably like a 15-minute hat trick. And coach, he missed all of them. And that brought out the Abacha in me. I was very upset with my fellow Nigerian. I was like, my compatriots, that said, I guess we can't really criticize anyone too much after a performance and result like this. But do you think this was more of is this just a variance of finishing type shit? Or is this more of he's not quite fully there yet? As good as he's been since he's returned, he's still at, I want to say at best, 70%.
I think I'm just going to give him the Phil Foden treatment that the English pundits do and say he's still a superstar, he's still amazing, he's this, that, and the other. What misses? Like that's
Thug
I
misses.
I will never ever talk down on Bukayo Saka for anything he does on the football pitch ever. Like players miss chances, man. It is what it is, man. Like he literally created
But
our first 2 goals.
but three seaters in a row, bro. Like, come
It,
on, man.
well, here's the measure of the man.
Sitters.
The first one wasn't a sit. It's just that we're so used to him being automatic from that range and that angle that it should have been a goal. I understand it. The second one, however, was just a clean 1-on-1. So it is what it is. The third one, he's hit it with his right foot. He's under quite a lot of pressure as well. To be fair, you still expect him to find a way to guide it on the target, or at least make it hit the if it hits the defender, then it's on target. You know what I mean? But the fact that he's completely hit it wide, it's just it is what it is. But with that being said, he could just be saving these goals for PSG. Yeah, you know what I
That's
mean?
fair. I can live with that. I can live with that. I mean,
So, so yeah.
I think Arsenal fans that are extremely online, like Declan Rice, have probably seen that series of clips of someone somehow focused their camera on Bukayo Saka throughout the entire Bernabeu tie, and when he missed that penalty, you could tell from his facial expression that he was like, "Oh, okay, okay, all right, I'm gonna get y'all back." And I was hoping for that same sort of. He didn't quite bring it. He kind of felt like it was funny that they were booing him, and he just found it all very. He was in gear one. It was all a joke to him. I'm saying that, and this, yes, call it a criticism. He's my guy. He will always be my guy. But I'm saying that if you want to get to that messy CR7 level that you dream about every day, bro, you got to punish teams. You got to score until the crowd shuts up. And, it's fine for today, but it can't happen again because I will fly there and I will talk to him myself.
I'll be real. I'm not even sure he even knew what the hell Ipswich was before today. Like, to be honest, that's how that's the measure of where Bukayo. He literally just scored a chip against Courtois at the Bernabeu. This was probably even punishment for him missing a penalty to take him to Ipswich. He was just like, huh? Like, coach, like, what's going on here? Like, he probably woke up blindfolded and gagged and shit. He was like, you're playing to. He's like, what? Ipswich?
Mikel, please, seriously. Anyway,
Ipswich? Is it yummy?
to quote a mutual friend of ours from my text earlier today, Ipswich sandwich, it don't matter. Nigga, you gotta eat. You gotta eat. It don't matter the context. You gotta be ruthless with these motherfuckers, man. Let people go home thinking of you like, man, that is the best play I've ever seen in my life. That's where you got to be with this shit. And the way you do that is to be ruthless. He wasn't ruthless enough for my taste today. I expect him to improve on that as the years go on. I think, he's still 23. Sometimes he thinks shit is a joke. Bukayo, nothing is a joke in this life, okay? Nothing is a joke. Be serious all the time. Fuck all that, child of whatever shit. You got to be child of evil sometimes and just stomp on niggas' necks. It don't matter whether it's Easter. You know what? It's Easter. That's why he laid off on him. That's what it is. He chilling.
I will say, as men, there's only ever time for business, no time for smiling. That's the one thing we have to remember.
Yes, that's a proverb, man. If you want to take those trophies away from people, it's got to be business all the time. Like whether it's Ipswich, Sandwich, Liverpool, don't matter. All right, halftime. Did you want to see any changes? I personally wanted Saka off. I was like, go ahead and put an ice pack on that ankle for me, and just have him sit, bring Ethan in, let's see what he can do. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I kind of wanted, once it was down to 10 men, I would have loved to literally make like 3 subs at halftime straight away and then keep 2 just for any potential potential
like emergencies.
Yeah, emergencies where it's just like, shit, okay, this player's gone down. Like, okay, at least we haven't used all our subs yet. So yeah, that's what I was hoping for. But the fact that he did it on 55 minutes lets me know that he knew strict, like, he knew on Wednesday night how he was managing all these players' minutes. On the weekend, so that was good to see, man.
Yeah, it was actually 55 is close enough, but I had it down as 57, and MLS came on for Marino, and Ethan came on for Saka. By the 70th minute, a lot happened, but what was happening was essentially Arsenal just corner pressing against 10 men. Set pieces here, shots getting blocked. It was just a lot of dominance. It was an attack versus defense exercise. It was like that before the red card. It became even more like that after the red card. That didn't change in the second half. It actually got worse to the point where I think by the 70th minute, Arsenal had 79% possession. And if Arsenal had maintained that, I haven't checked to see if Arsenal maintained it for the whole game, but apparently that would have been the record for one team over a different team this season as far as possession. So it was just thorough dominance to the point where it was almost boring. Actually, I watched this game at the gym on my phone, and part of it in my car driving back from the gym, and the rest on my couch on my phone while some other game was on the TV. That's how like I took the game about as seriously as Arsenal took the game. Put it that way. But it didn't really matter because in the 69th minute.
Nice.
Thank you. Trossard drilled in from the left near post after yet another short corner. So it's actually nice to see that our, the variation in our corner attack actually resulted in something tangible today, especially from Trossard. And it was another nutmeg on the go.
Yeah, I just want to say, one of my friends keeps saying that Arteta is using Declan Rice like Iniesta, like because he's playing him in the as a left central midfielder. I just want to say that reverse pass today, Iniesta would be very, very proud of it. For the record, Caicedo couldn't ever try that because he'd probably break his hip in half, the little fucker. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that goal just because of the pass. The finish was great. It was clinical, but goals like that just mean so much more to me, man, because you've gone like the hardest route to goal and you've found success there. Like reverse passes are not something you see every match day because of how rare those opportunities present themselves, because of the way how teams set up. So to see, especially doing it from a corner where literally everyone's in the box as well, fantastic vision, fantastic technique, fantastic execution from Declan Rice, man. So yeah, very, very, very pleased.
Yeah, and credit to the Belgian raccoon. I think, he probably should have gotten a hat trick today as well. Not ruthless enough for me. KO, your boy. But, the fact that he scored on nutmegs for both goals, in my mind, he scored 4 goals in this game. So he could have done Darren Sharvin celebration with the 4 hands at Anfield. But we didn't get all that because it's just Ipswich and no one knows where it is on the map. All disrespect intended. We had more subs in the 71st minute. Martinelli came off for your boy Raheem Sterling, and Rice came on for Rice went off for Kieran Tierney. Rice obviously deserves a break, Martinelli as well. But the interesting thing about these subs is that MLS got to play as the 6 for the last 20 minutes of the game. I wasn't particularly focused on the game. I was already preparing for this podcast because I kind of knew where things were going. What did you make of MLS's first official minutes? I mean, technically, he's always played in midfield. That's how our left backs play in Arteta's system. But this was the first time he was the primary pivot in midfield. Did you see anything you liked? Anything transferable for the future? Anything maybe potentially to be unleashed against PSG?
I think the first thing I noticed is, I know he's playing midfield, so he's going to be in the centre, but just how central he was. He wasn't dropping out of the block. He was trying to receive it in the difficult areas. He was getting annoyed. Should I say the second thing was he was getting annoyed at both our players in the wide areas for not just trying to get the ball, fizz the ball into him, like in the difficult spaces. He wants the ball there. He backed himself so much. You can see him getting frustrated. So I think that's a positive to take in the future. Like I think I've referred to players like him in our team as a release valve, a pressure release valve kind of thing. And it doesn't really matter where you place him on the pitch, whether it's at fullback or whatever. He will be a pressure release valve for you if you give him the ball in difficult areas of the pitch. Whether he's making the pass, the exit pass, or receiving the exit pass, he will be the guy for it, kind of thing. And yeah, I think there's more to come from him, purely from his offensive sort of output. I think he created a chance for himself after he tried to play a 1-2 and the ball came back to him and he's hit it with his right foot. Again, confidence and not just, he scored his first ever goal for us, I think, with his right foot as well against City, if I remember correctly as well. Yes. There is so much offensive potential there for him that I just think rarely ever do I say the sky's the limit, and I say it just, and I say it with the 100% belief in it, but I'm saying it for him because I'm not even sure if the sky is the limit. He legit might just go to Jupiter.
Bro, why not Pluto, man?
Exactly. He's ridiculous. He's ridiculous. Seriously.
It's interesting that the first time we've sort of seen him officially in the midfield 3 was as the 6, because to me that's not really much of a difference from what he's been doing from left back the whole season. So, whatever. There was no real observations to make for me. That said, I think when you talk about the skill set he has, the variety of things he can do with the ball and without the ball, bro, that looks like an 8 to me more than a 6, to be honest with you. Like he just offers so much in the final third, like, and he like you said, he backs himself in every situation, in every context of the game. No matter how good players are, the smart players tend to know what they're not good at or what they can't do, or certain areas in the field that they shouldn't be in, or where they want to keep things minimalist. There's nothing like that with him. Like if he's the goalkeeper, he's playing out from the back. If he's the striker, he's doing bicycle kicks. He's that confident in his ability, and it was nice to see. But I can't wait to see more of him officially in the midfield, where he's not defending that left back space. I just want to see it, because I just don't think it can go wrong. In the 83rd minute, we got to see Nathan Butler-Yedeji. He came on for Trossard, who did not get his hat trick. He had a nice opportunity before the game ended. Probably could have scored his debut goal for Arsenal. Unfortunately, Alex Palmer got a nice hand to it. I believe from the resulting corner. I don't know if it was the resulting corner, but actually, no, I think Odegaard hit the post before the Nathan Butler-Yedeji opportunity. And that gives us an opportunity, Coach, to talk a little bit more about Odegaard. I specifically, and I want to say we generally on the podcast, but I specifically have been very, very harsh on our captain this season. And I don't think I'm unique in that regard. He just has not been up to form. Now, to be fair, I will admit that, well, first off, we made the semifinals of the Champions League this season. So that means that everybody's sins have been forgiven for me. Hopefully we go ahead and win that. But right now I can't hold any grudges against the players because they've achieved such a great thing, something we haven't done in 20 years or 19 years or whatever it was. That said, his form has improved in recent weeks. He's looked better, especially in the second half of games, which suggests that whatever is wrong with him has not been about his wind, his capacity, his work rate. That's always been there. Like sometimes better than other times, but the fact that he's looking stronger as the game goes on is a good thing. So we know that the issue hasn't been about his fitness. I suspect, and I don't know, I have no proof of this, but I suspect that based on the fact that his shooting, his ball striking, which he scored 15 a season or two ago. So, and there was an ozone thing going on where we're like, this area of the pitch is automatic from there. He shoots, scores all kinds of goals with his ball striking. That just disappeared for a huge chunk of this season, where he was just kind of hitting the ball like scared Havertz. And now in recent weeks, even though he hasn't scored, he's looking, against Madrid in the second half. He had 2 shots that maybe could have gone in. Courtois saved one went wide, In this game, he hit the post with a shot that was very firm. He looks more willing to shoot. He's not being tentative about it, So that suggests that maybe he's getting even fitter after that injury, because an ankle injury is it's a tricky thing. I've never had one, but generally people who have those injuries, like think about someone like Steph Curry. He's famous enough. He struggled for the first, 4 years of his career with ankle injuries. He just could never get right. And I think this being Odegaard's first ankle injury, he maybe came back to save us, but he wasn't fit yet. What you think?
Can I ask, just with Curry, was that the shoes or?
No, well, at the time he was still rocking with Nike, but then he moved to Under Armour. But really, if you see his feet during any game over the last decade plus, he wears these giant ankle braces, which football players do not wear because you're not going to get, the touch you need and the control you need with an ankle brace. But in basketball, you can get away with that. Someone like Odegaard does not have that option. So I'm suspecting that that's what's been the issue the entire season, because, again, he hasn't scored, but in recent weeks, the shot is looking firm again.
Yeah, I was gonna say what I think one of the key things with Odegaard, players have ticks, right? All players have ticks. You watch football long enough and you recognize certain players' ticks here and there. A famous one for me was Wayne Rooney and his first touch. Like Wayne Rooney, you knew everything about Wayne Rooney's game and fitness based on his first touch, basically. Like that was the tick for him. That was the telltale sign for me, at least what I noticed for him, right? And with Odegaard, his obvious tick for me is how often he's able to create the shot for himself, basically. You could just go back even 3 weeks ago, how often he would fake to shoot. I think he faked to shoot today 150% more times today alone than he has done in the last 4 games leading up to today, basically. Like the shot, he was locked and loaded. He was ready to unleash whenever he could, kind of thing. Like he was always making options for himself to shoot, and then a better option might have appeared. Or he's like, do you know what? Now let me create a better angle for myself. But when he did let go today, he did let go. Like, he's made the keeper make a couple of saves. He's hit the post as well. And I think this is a good time for him to be looking like he's getting back to full fitness, like actually properly. So I think he's got I think he's got it back. I'm not gonna say he's fully back yet because we have to see it like manifest properly. But I think he's approaching, like all the signs are there for me. Like, but the one obvious thing for me, I'd say, is how often he's able to create the shot for himself, and it's there now. It's actually there.
I think it's good that you quoted a tick or referred to a tick, because the tick for him, at least the way I think of it, is that when he gets the ball in those areas, in that right half space area where he does most of his damage, if he receives the ball closed, you can tell he's not all the way himself. He just kind of closes his body up, because for him to actually do anything dangerous in that area, he has to open his body towards a goal, so he can either shoot or slip a pass in or close his body back again, depending on what's in front of him. But when he doesn't even give himself that option at all, when it feels like he's hiding from the game a bit, that's when I come on the podcast and start talking shit about breast milk. But I'm glad to see him getting close to what we know he is, and I look forward to a fully fit Odegaard as the weeks go on, and as we get into next season, because, this one isn't over yet, but I can't wait. I cannot wait. We scored one more goal, I believe, after yet another short corner. I can't remember how we worked it in, but eventually got to Ethan in the box. He fakes a couple times, blasts it deflects in, 4-0 to the Arsenal. It was nice to see Ethan because he's had a quiet few weeks. It's all been Miles for the last couple weeks. Miles was at the burner ball. Miles nutmegged Kamavinga. Miles did this, Miles did that. And we've generally kind of thought of them as like a symbiotic thing, like here's the attacker and here's the defender. And it's nice to see Ethan come in. I thought he was going to get the start today, but even though he didn't get the start, he got the goal.
I think it's very important for his confidence and for the team as well that we have an option that can come off the bench and actually score. This part of the season, to me it's all about how refined is your final action. This is the business end of the season. We're great in build up. We can create chances, whatever else. Now it's the business end. When we get those in those areas, how many players do we have already locked and loaded to put the ball in the back of the net? The teams that normally do shit at this stage of the season they've got a variety of scorers, basically, one way or the other. So I'm very, very pleased that he scored, because we're going to need, in the next few weeks, we're just going to need as many people to cause teams problems as possible. Like, we can't just rely on now that Saka's back, that's it. No, Martinelli's there scoring now as well. Marino's scoring now as well. Declan Rice is creating and has the potential to score as well. Now Nwaneri's there as well. We probably might need just one more. Trossard's there as well. I even forgot. So we're in a good space, I think, in that regard. And the more the merrier. So very, very pleased for him. And just to say as well, that ball was flying into the top corner, by the way. It was travelling to the top corner for sure. It's just that, the two deflections made it look a little less glamorous,
Right.
But it was definitely going in.
Yeah, Daryl O'Shea got in the way, but yeah, that was definitely going to be another trademark Ethan goal, because people acted as if he cribbed that from Saka, but let's be honest, he's actually better at that action than Saka is. It's just what it is. It doesn't make Saka bad or anything. It's just that's not his super strength. Ethan's super strength, one of his super strengths is the ball striking. He just has that, like with zero backlift, he can blast it as hard as he needs to. So that's enough of Ipswich for me. Wednesday, Palace come to the Emirates. Any expectations as far as lineup and perhaps a prediction for the people?
I'm going to say, this is going to sound crazy, but I don't want one of our centre backs to start. I haven't decided who just yet, but I think starting Ben White at centre back should probably be the move. I think, and get Timber back into the team for a half. I'd say just get him into the team for a half, whether it's first or second half, kind of thing. But absolutely start Ben White centre back for me. Yeah, it'll probably be, if I'm going to be honest, it'll probably be, I'd like it to be Ben White and Kiwior, but I think against Mateta and Sarr, that's probably a little bit too sort of conservative. So I'll take White and Saliba, maybe get Saliba off a little bit later on if possible. But I think it's important to manage our centre-backs minutes as well, because between now and the end of the season, they're going to play every single game. So I think it's important to just try to manage where they can. I wouldn't say start Sterling, but I'd probably say give him a bit more minutes than he did today, I think, as well. Again, just managing these players' minutes, because against PSG at home, I want to see us try and start like how we started against City. Just get amongst them. Just show them who we are. Show them this is Arsenal, this is the Emirates, this is London. We've just taken care of.
This is the best team in France.
Exactly. This is the biggest and best team in France. We've just taken care of the club kind of thing, and you go next. Basically, I want everyone fit and firing and just ready to go, man.
All right. All right. Well, Coach, as always, thank you for joining me. This has been fun. Almost as much fun as watching Arsenal destroy Ipswich 4-0. Yeah, up the Arsenal. It's going to be a potentially glorious end to the season, and I'm not afraid to be bold about that. I'm excited, Coach. Are you excited?
This is what we guys. You guys that have been rocking with us since we started, and I suppose when we were I suppose started to branch off to do like the Arsenal edition and stuff like that. You should be able to remember what the podcasts were like. The expectations weren't this high. So yeah, let's be bold. But the most important thing is just to enjoy it. Enjoy the fear of potentially not winning the Champions League rather than not making top four. Enjoy that. you know,
We out the hood, baby. We in the burbs now. Come on, man. We about to get this mansion. Let's do this, man. We're moving up the ladder. This is what we want. Like, this is why you go through Mustafi for moments like this. So, in any event, thanks for joining us as always. This has been the Shirtless Plantain Show. This was the Arsenal edition. Coach, you know what to tell the people?
peace and much love to you.
Hey folks, this is Dean from the Shirtless Plantain Show. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and follow us on all our socials. You can see them right beneath our recordings in every video. Thanks again, and see you on the next one.